So, this is where the game begins. As you start off, you are in a snowy world, and the main premise of the game is that the player has to try and restore this world to its once former state of natural beauty. So to do this, the player will have to complete a series of tasks that are given to them by NPCs in the level. There's a box on the left of the UI, on the right of the UI, that you can see over here that says you currently have no tasks. When the player interacts with an NPC and is given a task, the text in this box changes to what the task entails so that they can keep track of what they're doing. And then once the task is complete, the text resets back to this text here. Also in the UI we have the inventory, which updates when the player collects pickups that are around the level. These will be used later on. And above the inventory is the energy bar. The player starts off with 250 energy and can gain more through collecting pickups and completing tasks. If the player runs out of energy, the game will end. So I'm going to demonstrate how a task works. So the task I'm going to demonstrate is the break ice task. So first of all, there's an ice cube over here, an iceberg. If the player is to shoot at it right now, as you can see, the projectile spawns and it hits the ice, but nothing happens. You can also see in the text box on the right, there is no task enabled. So if we go to this NPC over here and we go close enough, it triggers the dialogue system. So we start speaking to the player in this box that appears on the UI. As you can see, he's asked for us to break all the ice for him. So now, once the conversation ends, the text in the box is updated to say that the current task is to break the ice. And if we go back to the ice we were previously shooting at, the player will now be able to destroy it with their projectiles. And as you can see, the ice has now disappeared. So the task won't end until all of the ice in the level is gone, because that's what the NPC asked for us to do. So if we go around and we break all of the ice, the task will delete itself afterwards. You can see there's also some visual effects that spawn when the ice is deleted. My laptop didn't show it properly the first time, but this will happen each time the ice destroys itself. This is a Niagara system that I created. I also created the material for the ice, so that it would look translucent and reflective and blue. And I think the effect that it creates is a nice change from all the other flatter materials in the game. Getting to the last pieces of ice. So as it's shot, that was the last piece. The player's energy bar increased because you gain energy from completing a task, and the text in the box on the UI has also reverted back to the phrase, "You currently have no tasks." This was what happens at the end of every single NPC task that the player is given. Also, now that the task has ended, we'll be able to see that somewhere in the level, a new NPC will have spawned. So here it is over here. This is spawned because the task is complete, and this will allow for the player to get a new task. So if we speak to it, we get new dialogue, and this will repeat through until it's given the task. When the player has gained enough energy, they are able to go on an expedition. This will happen when they interact with the sign. The sign will be able to tell if the player has max health or not. If they don't have max health, nothing will happen when they interact with the sign. But if they do, like right now, it plays an animation and then it takes you to the expedition level. So what happens here is the player moves automatically through this path in the mountains, and as you can see in the top left corner, the energy is going down by itself. This is set on a timer to decline as you go along. So to prevent the game ending while this is happening, you can open the inventory, and what you need to do is consume the pickups that you collected in the previous level. So if you press R, you can see a pickup, an item disappears from the inventory list, and the energy in the energy bar increases. The player is standing on an AI mover that moves with AI to the location, which I have set somewhere on the path. I did this because I wanted this part of the level, besides being responsible for your own health, to be completely automated. As you can see here, there is an emissive ball. This is a drop of sunlight. When the player interacts with it, they are taken to the next part of the game, which is the next map. This is a version of the original Snowy map, except this is what it looks like when it's back to its true natural state. So as you can see, there are more trees, the grass is green as opposed to snowy, it's not snowing anymore, and instead of the snow Niagara system in the air, there's glowing dots flying about instead. There's also more flowers, and there are pigs running around. So this is what the player is striving for. When they get here, they are given more tasks to complete by more NPCs, but that's essentially how the game goes. Here are some more specific things that I want to mention about the game that I am pleased with. So one of the things that I am pleased with is this first task that you get when you enter the green map. So if you speak to this NPC, you can see in the background it has spawned a wheelbarrow over here. The NPC is saying to the player that he's going to give them the wheelbarrow, as it's just spawned, and he wants the player to take it and to clear up all the debris on the ground, which is these orangish mounds all around us. So if we go over to the wheelbarrow, there's a collision cube on the back of the wheelbarrow by the handles. When the player interacts with it, it attaches to the player. The player can now move around the level, pushing the wheelbarrow as they go, so the two move together. There is then a collision cube on the front of the wheelbarrow as well. This interacts with the debris mounds when they collide, and if it collides with a debris mound, it will disappear. I also have a functionality where sometimes when the debris is collected, the debris piles will show up inside the mesh of the wheelbarrow. Another task that I think is pretty cool is this one, where you have to round up the pigs that are roaming about the level and take them back to their pen. This one took a little bit of work to implement, as I wasn't entirely sure at the beginning how to make the pigs walk in one way, so free roaming around the world, to then change to following the player, to then change to free roaming again but in a much smaller area. But I did this through use of Boolean variables and timers. So when the player gets close to a pig, if the task is active, as you can see in the corner, the pig will start following the player. The player will then take it towards the pen, and I have it set up so that when the pig interacts with an invisible actor that is at the entrance of the pen, it will set a Boolean and clear the following timer that makes it follow the player, and instead the movement will be set to just roaming freely in a radius from a point, and the point of that radius is another invisible actor inside the pen, so that the pig can't leave, essentially. At the end of the green level, once the pigs have been herded, a boss enemy spawns. The boss is controlled by a behavior tree. Within this behavior tree, it has conditions where it will spawn a ring of fire around it. Once it's done that, it will chase down the player, then it will fire projectiles at the player in its direction, aimed, and then it will wait, and then it will repeat and go back to the ring of fire.